Hello, I'm Catherine Maurer, and welcome to my talk on sustainable agriculture. Our population is approaching a tipping point. It is projected by the year 2050, we will have a population between 7 and 8 billion people. This also means there is a widening gap between the mouths to feed and land to plow in our world. 80% of global deforestation, 70% of freshwater withdrawals, and 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions are a result of our agricultural system. It feels safe to say we cannot keep going the way that we are. Our system is simply not sustainable. So how did we get here? The Green Revolution of the 1960s and 1970s marked a defining shift in our priorities concerning agriculture. Heavy application of fertilizer, irrigation, and pesticides led to high yields and exciting varieties of crops. However, the runoff sediment, greenhouse gas emissions, exhaustion of our land, and challenge for rural farmers to keep up has overwhelmed us. So what would sustainable agriculture look like? Already in the definition, we find some contradictions. Can we truly use natural biological systems and sustain the economic viability of farm operations? I'm not so sure. So we need to figure out where we can cut corners and where we can make sacrifices in order to most efficiently use our planet's dwindling resources. I am a strong believer in everything in moderation, which is why I believe that the solution to our agricultural crisis will be a melding of organic farming, mechanization, and changes in federal policy. So why organic farming? Well, for one thing, it has a rigorous standard for animal welfare, which means it has more of a moral high ground. It also protects our environment by operating with high levels of biodiversity, employing limited levels of pesticides, fertilizers, and irrigation. This sounds ideal. We can work with our biological systems and provide food for the planet. However, by refusing to expend our arable land, organic farming is a much slower process. To keep our arable land arable, we have to claim as much as 2 times as much land as conventional farming would require, which translates to a lot more deforestation. Not to mention that organic farming also yields a lot less food for all this extra land and requires more farm hands, which makes a very expensive product in a highly competitive food market. So what about mechanization? Can we turn to that? There are a lot of positives when thinking about mechanization. For one thing, it provides a higher yield at a lower cost, which means we can feed a lot more people. It also tailors to a market that values durability, preservation of freshness, and consistency. For example, the chili pepper tradition in Las Lunas, New Mexico, has been an integral part of their culture for hundreds of years. However, lessening immigration from Mexico has made many farmers fear the loss of this deep-seated tradition. And it seemed these fears were quite legit, because 30,000 acres in 1997 were planted of chili peppers, and only 8,400 in 2019. However, the work at New Mexico State University in the modifying of the chili plant and the building of a chili harvesting machine has saved this tradition. In this case, mechanization saved the day. There's a picture of the machine. However, mechanization has quite a few downfalls. For one, there's a strong desensitization to animals and higher animal cruelty. Additionally, mechanization requires much sturdier plants to withstand this heavy machinery, which means a lot more use of pesticides and fertilizers, which is detrimental to our environment. As an example of a time mechanization did not exactly save the day was when lessening immigration to Mexico had Californian farmers fearing for their tomato growing business. So UC Davis developed a tomato harvesting robot, which eventually led to 4,428 small family-owned farms to go under because they simply couldn't afford this machinery and keep up with the expanding tomato market. The overarching negative to mechanization here is that it changes our market to one that values durability, preservation of freshness, and consistency no matter the cost. These shifting priorities and contradictions are what led me to my final project. To further explore mechanization, I decided to build an aquaponics system. An aquaponics system is a closed-loop water cycle where water in a fish tank is pumped to water in a grow bed to provide nutrients to the plants and clean the tank at the same time. Aquaponics is a great example of mechanization and innovation that could save us from this approaching crisis. There's no waste, fertilizers, pesticides, or deforestation required to build this system. You can find my video that I made on YouTube at PetM, a little shameless plug there, but you can learn how to make it in your own home. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to some of our key players, Mr. F, Gogo, Sunkiss, Louie, and Donald. Thank you, gentlemen, for all the help. To further explore the organic farming aspect of my project, I volunteered at Lewis Farms. I definitely got a sense of the extra labor that organic farming requires. The most important lesson I learned here, however, is that there is leeway in organic farming. We may never be completely dependent on our biological systems, and in some cases it's really unfair to expect this of our farmers, especially when we consider different adversities they have to deal with every day, such as the drought New Hampshire experienced last year, COVID-19, and decreasing government funding. I also wanted to include some of the free-range chickens and baby chicks they have at Lewis Farms. It was very exciting. So what can we do about all of this? Luckily, in our market, there's lots of power in our currency. We decide the food that gets put on our shelves. I believe that we can make a new market that values fair trade, healthy soils, resilient regional economies, and ecological farming over all else. It starts at home, and it starts with us building relationships with our food and where our food is sourced. So buying local and buying from distributors that support local farmers. Of course, if we want to enact any lasting change, we have to look to our federal policies. I believe this looks like paying countries to maintain and protect their forests, affording opportunities to rural communities so that extracting natural resources aren't their only opportunity for success, building incentives for farmers wishing to go organic, and paying farms for their carbon capture. Propping up farmers is going to be our most important move. When we look to the future of agriculture, I have a lot of hope. We are about to experience a very large turnover with our farmers, as farmers 60 and up outnumber farmers 45 and under 2 to 1. COVID-19 has also shown us how unusable our market is at the moment. The avoidance of supermarkets during COVID-19 has shown a resurgence in home growing and local buying. We also, as we turn towards robots, sensors, and other efficient technology, I feel a lot of hope. Thank you so much for listening. And I also wanted to give a couple extra thank yous to Thriven for donating to my project so I could build my aquaponics system, to the Friend Your Family for letting me borrow their fish tank, to Lewis Farms for letting me quite literally poke around their livelihood, which I'm sure is not an easy thing to do, Mrs. Mullins and my family for helping me throughout the project, and you all for listening. I hope that we all analyze our relationship with food a little harder and look at where it's being sourced.
What questions do you have for Todd this morning?
Yes.
How much did the whole aquaponic system cost you overall?
It costed $200. Yeah, it was expensive, and I didn't have to buy the fish tank, so it would have cost even more. But yeah, Thriven is like a community-based organization. It's like my church is a member, so they gave me a donation to do this like community-based project. So.
What other questions do you have? What was your favorite part of visiting Lewis Farm?
Probably not the weeding. Like I said, I definitely got a sense of like that extra labor. And I honestly was kind of like, I wish they used weed whackers or like weed spray, but I'm glad they don't. But probably seeing the baby chicks. It was really fun to play with them, and they were all warm from the sun, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Thank you. You had an awesome project.
Yeah, thank you.